Hello and welcome to this CNN Freedom Project special. I'm Jim Clancy in Washington, D.C. CNN was here to co-sponsor an event with the Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition called Attest. We brought together some of the biggest names and brightest minds in the modern abolitionist movement. All of them are working to solve this global crisis right now. In this discussion, you'll learn why catching and locking up a trafficker can be so difficult. You'll understand the enormous challenge of globalization and crushing poverty when you're trying to protect the victims. And you will feel the painful effect of time spent in slavery and what that leaves on a person's life. It's a complicated issue, and it made for a great conversation. See for yourself. Human trafficking is changing. The traffickers themselves are changing their strategies and their priorities. On the other hand, those who fight it have had a lot of success. One of the greatest successes is reflected in the faces that are gathered here, the number of young people who have taken up the fight. Now, we know we have a long way to go. There's no doubt about that. But we want to tonight reassess just where we are, what's working, what isn't working. We know that around the world, some 600 to 800,000 people are trafficked every single year, that as many as 50% of them are children. But let's begin and take stock. Where are we right now? Let's begin with our panelists. Ronnie, where do you think we are in 2011 in this fight?
I've been working on this issue and sharing my story for 11 years. And back in 2000, I didn't see, when I would tell my story to somebody, people would say, what is trafficking? What do you mean human trafficking? They didn't understand what it was. Now, today, 2011, I see progress. And I'm very excited on behalf of survivors that we are making progress. We have a lot of ways to go, but we are making a movement in this.
Louis C. DeBaca, what kind of a report card do you give us?
So I'd say that if we're looking at the world, awareness is up, structures are there, but governments have to step up and actually solve this problem. Otherwise, we're looking at a C or a C minus.
Kevin, I mean, you heard from Louis here saying, I mean, the laws are in place. The laws are in place everywhere, but even in the United States, there's a problem.
Absolutely. I think fundamentally we've lit the fuse on this particular rocket, but we have not even begun ignition and liftoff in the fight against slavery. Now, it's also true that in the last 230 years, we've had 3 major campaigns to bring slavery to an end, and we're now engaged in the 4th. And this will be the one that brings it to an end forever. Not just makes it illegal, but brings it to an end forever.
Mira Sorvino, you travel the world, you talk with the victims. How do you assess it?
Governments pay a lot of lip service to what they're planning to do and how much they care about it. And I've witnessed this. I've sat and listened to heads of state saying, and we are going to fight this scourge with everything we have, and then nothing is done. Police departments around the world don't prioritize trafficking as like an honorable crime to be solving. They're much more excited to have a photograph in the paper of people with 10 kilos of cocaine or heroin than with a huddling group of survivors who've just been discovered.
Tony Maddox, the CNN Freedom Project, a great project. A lot of people watch it, but you've got to worry about who are you really reaching here. The victims themselves don't see it. How much can the media really do here?
I think the media has a key role to play in being able to identify not just that it happened, but to go to Mira's point, to being able to say to the government, well, you say you're going to do something, but we're going to come back and check that you have. We filmed at this site. We're going to come back here in 6 months and in 12 months. And you know as well as I do, Jim, in the media we often get criticized for our skittish nature. We're on a story, we're off, we're on to something else, we're on to something else. I think what we need to do with certain projects like this is to discipline ourselves to say that our undertaking is we're staying with these stories. So we're going to follow up, and we're going to follow up, and we're going to follow up. To address Mira's issue, this is about embarrassment for governments. Many of these governments want to be seen as progressive international countries. We need to make it clear that isn't going to happen if you don't make this a priority, if you don't do something about this.
Representative Chris Smith, round us up here. What kind of a report card do you give? How effective do you think we have been in this fight against human trafficking?
We've been very effective, but much more needs to be done. It's been 10 years of progress, and I would say significant progress for the United States. More prosecutors at the local, state, and federal level have brought very successful cases on both sex and labor trafficking. But I also think it's a matter of more lawmakers taking real ownership over the issue. There also needs to be a grand coalition of church and state. The faith community plays a robust role, not only on the healing side for women who have been trafficked, and I've been in shelters all over the world, and when a woman has been so traumatized and raped over and over again, that hole in her heart, that brokenness, needs healing. And I've met many women who have come to the point of healing because of the faith component. So I think we need that coalition to be encouraged much more than it has been around the world.